Hello and welcome to Book Reviews by Warhammer 40k bookreviews.com. Today I'm taking a look at Commissar by Andy Hoare. The Imperial Guard is a massive blunt instrument. Billions of men and women, often pulled into the army through conscription from their home planet, deployed liberally into the various battlefields of the galaxy. Usually this is done with very little care or concern for the lives of the individuals that make up this instrument of Imperial fury. The predictable consequence of this is that morale in the Imperial Guard can be a little shaky, and that's where the Commissars fit in. Commissar tells the story of Commissar Flint, a member of the Commissar Order, who has the tough task of keeping the members of the Imperial Guard in line and doing their duty to the God Emperor. Flint has been deployed as Commissar of the newly formed 77th Vostroyan Firstborn regiment. He joins the regiment just as they deploy on their first mission, which is regaining control of a prison facility on the planet Furia Penitence, which has been the scene of a large-scale riot. Flint has to overcome the rebellion as well as try to assert his authority as a commissar, which is a task that is not made any easier by the political clan structures of the Vostroyan society. The story of Commissar is very gritty and paints a vivid picture of the life in the Guard and the tricky dilemmas that a Commissar is regularly faced with. It's a self-contained story that works as a little microcosm of Warhammer 40k atmosphere, containing plenty of grimdark moments of despair and more than its fair share of gruesome violence, with just a few pinches of political maneuvering. The story lacks any of the galaxy-defining grandeur of novels like The Emperor's Gift, favoring instead a much more personal and intimate narrative. If you like this style or not will very much be a personal preference, but it can certainly make for a nice change of pace after a few novels of the whole galaxy is going to burn unless X saves us from Y. The characters in Commissar work well, especially Commissar Flint himself, even if ultimately he ends up feeling a little too much of a superhero for my tastes. By the end of the book I did tire a little of Flint and his ability to seemingly remain unfazed even through the worst of odds. Though I guess that is quite the important skill for a commissar to have. Besides the commissar, we are also introduced to a handful of Vostroyan guardsmen and officers, and even a few of the escaped prisoners of Furia Penitence who decide to join up with Flint. The former inmates bring a little more color and emotion into the story, which is a fine complement to the stoic Commissar Flint. The battles of Commissar make up a significant part of the book, and they are well put together, emphasizing the much smaller scale of conflict than what you would typically find in your standard Space Marine book, for example. Instead of grand battles with huge armies facing off against each other, the battles in Commissar are small skirmishes between lasgun-equipped guardsmen and brutal prisoners that wield whatever weapons they can get their hands on. I think Commissar works well as a novel to read in between larger and more epic series, or as an introduction into the Imperial Guard and how their lives are so incredibly different to the mighty Space Marines. It's not a must-read book, but if you've got a hankering for the Imperial Guard stories, or if you need a little palate cleanser after reading about how the Ultramarines saved the galaxy from a Tyranid invasion, or how the Necrons will surely be the destruction of the Imperium, then I suggest you give Commissar a shot. I give Commissar 3 out of 5 chainswords.